This is To the Front. Tools for today's top agents.
Episode number 34 of To the Front coming in. Hey, thanks again for joining us. A lot of you have been around since episode number 1, and we are so grateful for that. We're growing in subscribers and streams, both on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, some on YouTube. But hey, if you haven't done it already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. You're going to be notified when we have another episode. And if you've been around, know that we're not just trying to sell you something or get you to do something. We really are just presenting tools that an insurance agent, that a business needs to have. And today is no different. But before that, let me take you back in time, back to my early days. If you didn't know, before I was at FrontRunner, before I was in printing, even kind of before I was a pastor, I did some light. And when I say light, I mean light IT work, some light. I wouldn't even say cybersecurity, right? In fact, what I mainly did is I helped little old ladies out with their computer problems. And so they would call me and I would come over for $75 an hour and they would have a piece of pie for me and all the stuff. And I would watch them hunt and peck on their keyboard and then find out what the real problem is. And almost always it was because they had gotten an email and it was the prince of some random country and they needed their help. And so they hit yes, help now. And it all spiraled out of control. But I made a pretty good living because the reality is that the reason why there are hackers out there in technology, the reason why there are people who are out there to exploit, one is because I believe the world is a broken place. But two is because it actually works, is that there are people falling for things, and not just dumb people, but smart people, intelligent people, really incredible business people who can be fooled. And what I found is that just a few simple tips, a few things can really safeguard your business. You've worked hard to keep your customers. You've worked hard to build your business. Why would you want to risk all of that stuff for a hacker or somebody who comes in and exploits your information, or maybe even worse? So today's episode, which I'm excited about, is called the Top 5 Cybersecurity Tips Every Agent Needs to Know. And to talk about that, I want to bring on my friend, Aaron Dickey, to the show. Aaron, welcome to the Front, man. Glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
Awesome, man. Aaron and I have, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see that Aaron and I both have the black shirts on today. And we're rocking. He's got the cool headset. I have the weird other mic. But hey, Aaron, let me tell you who Aaron is. Fantastic guy. Lives right down the street from me in Winchester, Kentucky. But Aaron started his consulting agency, ODN Consulting. He is the president of that. He and his team help tons and tons of businesses, not just in Kentucky, but really all over the nation, and even contracts that I can't tell you about. His team is front lines on all of that, right? So about, I don't know, what was it, Aaron? Maybe 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I said, Aaron, I got to bring your team on to FrontRunner to help us to help us with some basic things and even some more advanced things. And so Aaron became our chief technology officer here at FrontRunner in a fractional sense. If you've never had a fractional CTO, you should. We'll maybe talk about that in a different episode. But the day that we brought Aaron on to FrontRunner, we became a better company. We became a safer company. Your data became safer. And so I thought, Aaron, I got to have you on to talk about all of this. Because agents, if you're thinking about skipping past this episode because we're not talking about growing your business or that next little kitschy tool, do not turn the dial, because I have seen businesses completely shut down and derailed because they weren't safe, because there were some basic things that they didn't do. And I want to talk about that with Aaron. So, Aaron, how'd I do on the intro?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Fantastic. Anything you want to add? Anything you missed that I missed?
No, that's pretty much it. We've been doing this work for a long time now. We've helped people, from West Virginia out to Nevada, up to Michigan, Florida, pretty much the whole width and breadth of the U.S.
The whole gamut. Yeah, brilliant. I mean, Aaron and his team also helped me at my print shops. achieve all kinds of things. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. But Aaron, before we jump into the big topic of the day, hey, tell us, how did you get started in IT? How did you get started in what in maybe technology, right? So give us that whole backstory.
When I was a little kid, I watched the movie RoboCop, far, far too young to watch it. And I'm like, I want to be RoboCop when I grow up. And that, grew up a little bit, found out, well, I might have to be brutally murdered to get there. So let's not do that. But I would always take apart toys, toasters, clocks, anything that had a circuit in it to try to figure out how I could build myself my own RoboCop. And that's kind of, you know, put me on the trajectory that I'm in now, I'm on now.
So you're a little kid and you used to have all this stuff just deconstructed in your room.
Yep, would get in trouble constantly.
100%.
Yep.
100%.
By the time I could figure out how to put it back together, there's, I still can't figure out everything, but I'd give it the try.
That's right. So that sort of, you were a little kid, you said, man, this is what I want to do. So when did you start ODN? I mean, tell us about how that came about.
So ODN started off as a consulting business in Eastern Kentucky. Went to the Army, did IT, for one of the largest organizations on the planet, the U.S. military. Learned how very, very, very large IT networks function, how they all work together, what is needed to keep something like that going. And then when I was hurt, I was discharged. I'm like, well, I'm going to go back home and see what kind of jobs I can get into. And then, Eastern Kentucky at the time, if you weren't a miner, you're going to work at a gas station. I said, well, that's not really my thing. So
got your path there.
Yeah, I started working with a few banks in Eastern Kentucky, helping them do security audits, performing their FDIC audits that they have to go through. And it was fun and all of that. But what really got me into this is what I'm going to do with my life, like what set the mission up that for what became ODN Consulting was, people had started to know, hey, there goes the computer guy. Little old lady on Main Street in Inez, Kentucky, ran a floral shop that's no longer there. She saw me walking by her shop one day and she's like, hey, will you take a look at my computer? I'm like, well, yeah, sure, I sure will. And walked in there, and her computer, just single computer, QuickBooks, and a little teeny tiny credit card machine was how she ran her entire business. It got ransomware. And the ransom at the time, I think, was like $15,000 on a flower shop in Eastern Kentucky that might see $15,000 over 6 months. She's like, I can't afford to do this. I don't know what to do. I'm like, Cheryl, it's already too late. You've been had. So she ended up closing down her shop there, and she lost her job, and her employee lost their job. I'm like, that's not right. Like, why should something like that cost somebody their livelihood for, probably somebody living over in Asia, Africa, on the other side of the planet, just writing a bot that goes through and takes advantage of people that don't know any better, because IT's hard.
Yeah. And my guess is there's a million stories just like that
of
people who never thought it could happen to them.
I deal with that every day. Oh, it's never going to happen to us. We're too small. Like, it's probably going to happen. Just win.
Just win. In fact, I have some business partners here at the print shops, and before that, they managed or owned a large wealth management firm, and some hackers got into their server. I mean, and these folks, this wealth management firm had lots and lots of money, even some experts at the helm, and their whole computer, the whole computer, not the computer, the whole server, everything was held captive, and lots of critical data. And these hackers said, hey, we need you to pay us X amount of dollars. That was a loss, probably $150,000. And I don't know, it was probably some crypto coin. And so this wealth management firm calls the FBI, calls the police, and the FBI said, hey, you ought to just pay them. That was their solution.
Yep.
Like, you ought to just pay them. And so they paid them the 100,000 plus. They did release their servers and everything. But think about that. If we have the FBI saying just pay them, there is no quick, easy solution often when you get hacked.
If you don't have the backups, you're over a barrel.
Over a barrel. So we don't want that to happen to you. That's why I have Aaron on the show today, because what we want to talk about is so important. We're talking about protecting your business, your family, and whether you're an insurance agent or you own some other business or you don't own any business at all, you just want to protect your livelihood, your home. We want to talk about the top 5 security tips that agents, that people, that businesses need to know. Now, I want to tell you this. I just chose 5 because I like the number. I have no idea how many tips you have for us, Aaron, but five tips. Maybe there's 3, maybe there's 4. I don't know, but I have to have a sense that we don't take enough time thinking about cybersecurity. So first, before we do that, tell me why that is. Why do you think business owners don't take the time to think about it?
So IT is one of those weird things that it's always looked at as a cost center, when in
Mm.
reality, it can be a profit center if you do certain things, but it's an investment into your own business. It's not a cost. I don't know where that comes from. I think it's just decades of management teams and people who own businesses like, oh, we have to buy another $3,000 computer. That's
Yeah.
great. But I think that's it. The perception that it's just going to be a bottomless pit of money that I have to keep dropping into. So let's do the bare minimum to keep the lights on so we can take those funds and invest them into something that can actually bring value back into the organization. It's a mindset that needs to be adjusted.
Yeah. So cost center versus profit center. That was really wise because I they do think it's just one of their fixed costs versus thinking, hold on a second. If we believe the phrase that it's cheaper to keep a customer than it is to go get a new customer, then why wouldn't it be smart and cheaper and wise of us to protect the current assets and information that we have versus allowing them to be hijacked and going getting new? No, like this is actually, I like that, a profit center because it is protecting the assets and the information that you already have. And if knowledge is power and power is money and power is oftentimes success, then why wouldn't you want to protect that? Then actually spend good time on it. Because my guess is most of the time when people call OD and consulting, it's not preventative, is it?
No, it is almost without variation. Oh no, what's happened? Please help us fix ourselves.
That's right. And I'm guessing it's way more expensive to be
Correct.
reactionary than it is to be precautionary, say, or yeah, whatever
It's
other
not
word.
just financially more expensive, it's productivity that's lost, the amount of time that you have to go in and figure out what caused it to happen, figure out what exactly did happen, and then reverse all of that and put blockers in place so it doesn't happen, like, 3 days from now after you fix it the first time.
That's right. That's right. You, if you're a business owner, you need to be concerned. You need to hone in for the next few minutes on this episode because we're going to start giving you a few tips, a few things that you can start doing today to help you become more secure. And Aaron said it right. Like if your systems are down, if you're hijacked, guess who's not working? Your team. You're not working. Guess what happens when they don't work? You don't make money. So the investment that you make in this, right, is not a call center. It's a profit center. It's just a different way of looking at it. Okay, so great way to tee this off. So Aaron, let's do it. I don't know how many tips you have, but give us your first tip. The first thing that every business owner, agent needs to know about cybersecurity. Give us your first thing.
The first thing anybody should do, it's simple, annoying because updates typically happen right in the middle of a busy day if they're not done correctly, but just keeping software up to date, the software that runs on your phones, iPads, laptops, servers, keeping that up to date will remove a large vector of entry into an organization. Uh, Great example. Uh, it was Equifax. Their big giant breach was because of not updated software. So,
Wow.
and
Yeah, but Aaron, I'm probably like with everybody else. They get that little pop up on the screen. You want to update? Nope, nope.
yep,
Later, remind me later.
yep,
But you're saying that don't ignore that.
yep. Don't ignore it. Most modern operating systems now you can schedule those things to go through the night. Take the 30 seconds to a minute to go and like, yeah, I guess update through the night when I'm at the house because the amount of benefit you get for such a tiny amount of work there is astronomical. And the updates
Yeah.
aren't just to, it's not Microsoft, Apple, Google saying, well, let's mess with everybody today and push out an update. There's legitimate benefits to it. They never do it just to do it because they have to pay developers to do it.
Yeah. So from a high level, like what's an update doing? Like why do they need to update? Could you give them some back reasons about why would a software company need to put out an update?
So the reason why, you know, Windows is a great example because it's used on 80% of the computers on the planet. A a bug is found inside the Windows operating system, Windows 11. This bug is going to be on every version of Windows or every instance of Windows 11 across the planet. Those bugs are very quickly communicated on the internet saying, hey, I found this bug. I'm a security researcher. I told Microsoft what to do. But the bad guys get those same kind of notifications. It's like, oh, I can take this bug, take this little piece of automated code that I wrote that can take advantage of that bug and then publish it on the internet and just let it run and do its thing. And then you have, you know, over half of the planet just waiting to get, you know, breached because of that bug. That's an oversimplification, but that's essentially, you know, what happens there. Those updates resolve those bugs. Sometimes they cause more bugs, but those get updated too. It's a continuous life cycle of software to be updated and to find new vulnerabilities. That's always going to happen because the people who make it are human and they make mistakes.
Yeah. So a bug, when bugs are found not just by good guys, but they're found by bad guys.
Yep, found
And
by
even
bad
when the
guys
good
all the
guys
time.
find them, the bad guys find out about it from the good guys.
Yep, because the good
And
guys are just trying to do good guy things and say, hey, this is an issue, let's get it fixed. And the bad guys are like, no thanks, man, I'll just take that to, you know, do my own thing with it.
that's right. And I guarantee you, as long as the world is broken, which if you haven't realized will be forever, as long as the world is broken, there will be people there who want to contribute to its brokenness.
Correct.
And so if there's a bug, if there's so number one, easy thing, just hit update. Then you could, right, you can schedule that to update
Yep.
later when you're not in the office. You can make sure that it's not super intrusive. But number one, update your stuff when you're supposed to. I'm sure that you have people that call that say my stuff's all messed up, but then you find updates that they should have done 2 years ago.
Happens, you know, daily. When we onboard a new client into our MSP service, that's one of the first things we do. We just do an audit across the board. And with that, we're checking for how much software is out of date, how far behind are they, you know, what their exposure looks like. And updates are such a quick and easy fix that people just ignore because, you know, back in the early 2000s, late 90s, Windows and, you know, the way it was handled back then was not fantastic for Microsoft or Apple, but it's gotten so much better now that
Mm-hmm.
it really is unintrusive if you just, you know, schedule it out.
Yeah, and just like Aaron said, they're not sitting around like I'm bored. Let's do an update. If there's an update, there's probably a reason for it.
Yep, there's always a valid reason for it. Because most of the time, they are used to close security vulnerabilities found within the software.
That's right. Would you say? Well, okay. So let me extrapolate that. Would you say that every update on an iPhone or Android they need to do like a version upgrade?
Yep. So Apple is really good at always including the term security issues, but they never tell you what some of those can be. A great example, I can't remember what version of iOS it actually was, but a nation state actor figured out a way that they could send a text message to an iPhone and it had black and white dots in the picture. The iPhone would read those black and white dots as binary code and spin up a virtual machine inside the phone that would then give this nation state actor the GPS coordinates of where that phone was, and they used it to target people that they didn't like.
Wow.
And that was a security issue fix. Uh, but that's an extreme example.
But that stuff's going on all the time.
Right.
Just that. So do your updates. Okay, that's a great first one. Update. Okay, how about the second one?
So one of the things that I like to do and force OD and people to do is keep things documented. Everything that you change on the network gets a change ticket assigned to it, even if we don't show it to the customers, because lots of changes, we'll create lots of change tickets, we'll create a lot of email notifications, and people get overloaded with it. But everything that gets done on a network should be documented. That way, in 6 months, when something is broken, something doesn't look right or work right, you can go back. Why did we do this, and what did we actually do? And it gives you a very clear audit trail of why we're in the spot we're in right now.
Okay, so if I'm a small business owner, how do I do that as a small business owner? Is it as easy as just grabbing a pad of paper and anytime something changes or I do something or update something, just write it down?
Yep, that is by far the easiest way to do it. You can get it more complex and throw it into Microsoft OneNote, the Notes application on your iPhone, just as long as you have some kind of trail that you can use to go back to, because it is hard to keep track of this stuff over time, and it's really easy to get into the situation where you have no idea what your IT system actually is because it's changed so much over the last 6 months to a year.
Yeah. So do you hear that? No matter what it is, business, home, whatever, if you're making a technology change, hitting an update, doing something to do maintenance or whatever, right? Why not just have a little notebook and just write down when you did something? Because when something happens and you got to call my buddies over at ODN Consulting and like, hey, help me, they're going to ask probably this question. Hey, tell me what you did last. And probably, Aaron, I'm guessing a lot of people are like, well, I don't really know. I hit that button and I don't know.
Yep.
Right. But how helpful is it when they say, I'll tell you exactly what I did over the last 4 days. This is exactly what I did. That gives them a starting point
Yep.
to go help solve your issue. So if you're a business owner, you ought to point somebody in your office or whether it's you to just keep a log of all of the technology changes, really anything that you do tech-wise to any of your systems. They ought to write that down.
Yep. Write it down, keep some kind of record for it, because it does make the job much easier from a support perspective. But you say you've had the same office manager for 10 years and they're like, well, I think I'm going to retire now and take everything that I know about the business with me. Here's half a page of what I do a day. And you're like, oh, great, here's you a nice watch. And then 3 weeks go by and payroll isn't being processed correctly because the person who just retired was the only one who had access to the payroll system to send the file off to the bank so people get their nice direct deposits. That kind of stuff needs to be documented as well, so there's continuance of the business.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so let me bring this up. And if I'm delving into another one of your tips, you can just tell me, hey, I'll cover that later.
Oh, sure.
But when we're talking about documenting things, should people write their passwords down somewhere?
No, that the proper that's actually not one of the tips. Should have been. The proper way of doing that is using a password manager. I checked mine earlier today to see how many accounts I actually have in. There's 625 accounts that I track passwords for.
Wow.
I don't know the password to any of them whatsoever. Couldn't tell you at all. They're completely randomized, but I do have one very good passphrase that unlocks that password manager. And the passphrase for me, it's two of my favorite quotes combined together. It is 213 characters long, and I can just
Wow.
type it out super fast. But if you take a computer and like, hey computer, crack this 213 character password that has proper grammar, special characters, it would take an ungodly amount of time and expense to get that done. So super easy for me to remember. All of my passwords have unique user accounts, so password managers are the way to go there.
So you're saying I've got a password that probably controls 90% of my life. You're saying that's not a good idea.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to do that, because that is one of the leading ways that breaches happen. It's called credential stuffing, where let's use Yahoo as an example because it's had some of the worst breaches in password history. Your Yahoo email and password is your username, like your Yahoo email is your username for everything, and you use that same password. Yahoo gets breached. What happens is these guys have written programs that will automatically take, adam@yahoo.com and this password and just try to sign into everything. And if it's the same, they're eventually going to hit more things.
Wow. Yeah. And how many clients do you talk to that their passwords, my kid's name, the year, and an exclamation mark?
It is either that with the year, the season, spring, exclamation point 2025 or summer 2024 period. That's super common.
Super common.
And
That's right. So give us an example of a password manager. Like if I'm somebody sitting there like, yeah, I'm guilty. I got all my passwords
yep,
because I would find that when I would go visit these little old ladies, right? They had a little black book and it was all their passwords. I mean, everything. And
yep.
I'm like, oh, this is a terrible idea.
The,
So give us an example or of a password manager that somebody could go sign up for.
so the one that I prefer and try to get people to use, it's Bitwarden. It
Mhm.
is super cheap. You can host it on your own stuff if you're super nerdy and paranoid about Amazon having access to your data. They also have their hosted version that costs, I think, $5 or $6 per license. I don't get any money off of it, but the reason I like it is it's open source, and what that means is if you know how to program, you can see the source code and what they say they're doing. When you look at the source code, that's what they're actually doing.
Right.
Another one that's super popular is LastPass. That one is where I started my journey with password managers. They've had a few breaches, and what they say that they do is they don't have access to the actual passwords that are stored inside their software. You have your primary password that encrypts all of those. Their last breach, they the primary password was breached for some people, and we never figured out, well, how did that happen if LastPass says that's impossible? So some weirdness there.
That's right. In fact, I know one of the primary companies that works with FrontRunner that a bunch of their agents are with use LastPass.
Yep.
And so, but I definitely get some sort of deal for there. Anyway, I hijacked your second tool
Oh,
there, by the way,
you're
the
fine. It
log,
went
but I
great.
had to. So, okay, give us your third.
So the third is to have backups and to test your backups.
Mm,
So backups, you just have all of your critical data saved somewhere else. But what I notice people don't do is they don't have them at another facility. They have a hard drive that they pack around. They plug into a computer, it backs data down to that hard drive, and then sometimes they just forget it and leave it there for 3 or 4 days and like, oh, I need to get that. But you need to rotate out your backups, have multiple copies. 3 is ideal. You have a local backup, an offsite backup, and then a cloud hosted backup of some type.
So it's not just good enough to have it backed up one time in the cloud.
Correct.
Why?
Well, what happens if, say, your building burns down, you lose your data there, but say geographical instability, you know, earthquake, hurricane, something like that comes through, and your access to the internet is just gone for X number of weeks, X number of days. How do you continue on with that, with all of your backups in the cloud?
That's right. So you can't control what's going on at wherever that cloud storage is. So you're
Correct.
saying you need to have a local backup, which means just something that you can pick up and take with you.
Yep.
You need to have probably a cloud backup somewhere, and then one other.
Yep. So the way we do it here for ODN, we do a backup at the client facility. We back it up to our data center here in Winchester. Then we encrypt that backup and upload it to AWS. And then it's geolocated on each coast.
Got
And
it. Got it.
if something
Backup.
happens to the point where we can't get to it on either coast, it probably doesn't matter anyway.
That's right. So now, if you're with a company who does your backups for you, which I know a lot of our captive insurance agents that listen do have that already that happens. My guess is though you've probably got other data
Yep.
that's not being backed up that probably should be backed up. And if you have a business that's not connected to a larger business, I can guarantee you we have a lot that are listening, Aaron, that don't have any backups at all. I'm sure you've got some horror stories of businesses that didn't back up that lost everything.
Yep. There is a lab that we work with in Nevada. When we first started working with them, the reason why They had everything stored in the cloud. One of their engineers accidentally deleted their tenant, and their data was gone.
Wow.
No backups, no nothing. And Amazon was like, well, we would love to help you, but we can't because the data is gone.
Wow.
And they lost roughly 3 or 4 years worth of data, and then had
Unbelievable.
to start recreating all of that from scratch, and random notes and things like that people had on a flash drive here and there, trying to recompile a lab that has 45 employees. Data from that is a nightmare.
Yeah, that's right. So pretend I'm a business that does. I don't have an IT guy. I don't have anybody to do it. How would I go about getting this done?
So the first thing somebody needs to do is they need to identify what data is actually important.
Mm.
Your recipe book, you might like it, but you don't really need to pay to back that thing up somewhere. Any of your payroll data, your HR data, the notes that you are now taking to keep your IT changes in place, those need to be backed up. And that's step one. Make sure you know what you have and where it is so you can back it up. And step two, um, there's software built into Windows, Microsoft, Apple devices, Microsoft devices have software built up to allow you to easily back it up. Uh,
So
on
they can
Windows,
do it themselves on some level.
oh, they sure can, and it is a great way of doing it. Like like me personally, I use the built-in backup on my Windows machine and my MacBook Time Machine to have my own private stuff backed up apart from what we do for ODN. Doesn't
And it
cost
works just
anything.
fine. It works
Works
just
just fine.
fine.
Yep.
So they don't need to call a professional company to back up their stuff. You can do it.
Oh, they can do it 100% themselves, depending on what kind of data that they're storing. They could have some compliance issues there, like say you're storing patient health data. You don't want to just put that on a hard drive somewhere, because if an auditor comes through like, hey, what's on this hard drive here? It's full of patient data. You can't do that. So depending on their individual situation, you want to be careful. But for most things, just open up control panel and hit backup and go.
And go. Huge. Could save your business.
It 100% kit.
Could save your business. All right. So we've got run those updates, quit ignoring them. Number two, take notes, just write down what you've done tech wise whenever you do it. So that in case something does go wrong, you have a kind of a, so to speak, trail of tears to follow back on.
Yep.
Third is back your stuff up, save it, hit save, and then save it somewhere else, and then save it on top of there somewhere else. And just know that the word redundancy is so important. In fact, at FrontRunner, obviously, since Aaron's at the helm of our tech, just know that we've got that over and over and over for you, because we know how important your data is, to have. In fact, that's what Aaron's job is here at FrontRunner, is to make
FrontRunner
sure
is
that
one of those that has the 3 layers of backup.
that does. And so Aaron manages and leads the team that does that. So glad for that. Okay, anything else? Any other tips? Do you have a fourth tip?
I would say the fourth tip might be the most important, and it's probably one of the easiest ones, and could be the funnest, is just train your people. That is a godsend for security. Just tell your people what to look out for, how to identify a phishing email or a bad text message, because I highly doubt that your boss is sending you a text message at 2 a.m. saying, hey, go buy me 8 $100 Apple gift cards, but don't tell nobody.
I've heard that 100 times. That's like a common scam now that people fall
Yep.
for.
Oh, somebody called me because they fell for it yesterday. They're like,
Unbelievable.
hey, was this legit? I'm like, no, they even spelled the guy's name wrong. That's not legit. Come on now.
Yeah, I actually got one when I was a pastor in Winchester. My pastor one day emailed me, says, hey, listen, I'm real busy. Can you go buy me some gift cards? And dude, I'm an experienced guy. And like, I start typing out an email, like, sure, what do you need? And I was like, hold on a second.
Oh,
And because, yeah.
that one's almost got me. Marketing director's like, hey, we need to do this. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll go do it, but don't you have your own card to go buy this stuff with? And I'm like, just, happened to text. I'm like, why are we doing that? They're like, what? I'm like, oh, dang it. I've been doing this stuff for 20 years at very high levels. Some of them can be very tricky.
Very tricky. So you say train your people. Okay. Could you give us a couple simple things that an agent can do right now to walk around their team and say, hey, make sure you do this, this, and this? What are a couple little easy things?
So the easiest is look for spelling. If grammar is completely chewed up, if everything is spelled incorrectly, that's a bad sign. Uh, but a great way to check it out is if they're using the UK version of English, like if check is spelled with a Q
Uh-huh.
and color is spelled with a U and what is organization has a Z, like
Oh
stuff
yeah.
like that. It's easy to pick up on that. And then for email, always train super easy. Actually see where the email comes from because anybody can say, "Hey, I'm Aaron Dickey, and my display name is Aaron Dickey, and I'm pretending to be Aaron from ODN." But if it comes from Aaron Dickey ODN at gmail.com, that's a pretty big red flag.
That's right. That's right. So how about simple things like should a team member when or an employee when they get up to leave their office, or things like logging out of the
Yep.
computer, locking
Uh,
their computer. I mean, how often do you find people just leave everything open and they just walk
uh,
away?
Constantly. They
Yeah.
they stand up and walk away. Now, I've seen people actually do this at doctors' offices are a great example. The
Unbelievable.
receptionist will stand up and walk away with the patient record on the monitor, and you're like, huh, "How about that? That guy has all kinds of fun diseases. Never
Oh,
talk to that guy."
yeah, yeah, totally. So it's as easy as saying, "Hey, when you get up
Yep.
or you go to the restroom, lock your computer or close your laptop screen or lock however it is," right? But some simple things like that. Don't open emails that you don't know where they came from. Check the name, check the spelling, all that good stuff. And I've even heard of businesses recently who are saying, "Hey, you're not allowed to use any external jump drives or anything. So don't be taking jump drives home and then plugging them into the work machines,
Correct.
right?"
When I did work for the Army, my job was to hack people, and that was the way we would get people to do it. We would get a USB drive, have somebody put movies on it, and then throw them around in parking lots out, at in theater areas, and you'd be surprised at how very quickly you can take over a network that way.
From just a jump drive.
Just a
I've
jump drive.
heard that before. People scammers will just throw jump drives out.
Yep, you just leave
Sure.
them around because people are going to be curious. Like, oh man, this thing has games on it. Let's go see what it is. Plug it into their computers, and it can even get so far as they actually have games on them, so people keep them plugged in and will share them with their friends. But all it takes is a jump drive being plugged into a computer, and then depending on how it's set up, the computer is compromised.
Yeah, it takes over everything. So okay, so those are the four. Those are the four biggest tips that you got.
Yep, I
Awesome.
can I can give you one more if you
Give me
want it.
one more. Let's make it five. Let's make me not a liar on the title.
Perfect. So this one, it's not something that somebody on train can do, but if you want to actually take your IT by the horns and be like, all right, you're mine now, I'm in control, is check your exposure. Like, pay somebody to do a penetration test on your network. And it can be, IP scans. They can even get as far as have somebody pretend to be IT and come into your office and see what happens. Okay, pen tester, your job is to plug this USB drive into a computer, just walk in and see if you can make it happen. Because that
Wow.
that is the most eye-opening way to check your check your vulnerabilities to see where the holes in your fence are.
Yeah, and as a business owner, you should care about your business enough to do that.
It
Is to invest some money for to do some exposure testing or vulnerability testing, right? This is a profit center.
Correct. It is an investment. And, some of these penetration tests can be hyper expensive, but for most people that just need to know where to start at, it's not going to be that expensive. And, you know, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. The same thing
Yeah.
applies. Take a little bit of your time and your money and pay somebody that actually knows how to do this to tell you how they got into your network so nobody else can.
Let's go ahead and recap, Aaron, what our most important things were. The first one was run your updates, quit ignoring it, hit the button, update, schedule it for later. It's going to save you a world of hurt. Number two, what you change. All right. So document the log, write it down. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. But don't do it on your passwords. Use something like LastPass or something. The third thing is backups, backup. Now make sure you have the backup of the backup of the backup. You never know when you're going to need it. The fourth, train your people. You train your people how to sell. You train your people how to service your customers. Train your people how to protect your business in technology and cybersecurity. Very simple. And the fifth, and I really hope you guys do this, is actually invest a little bit of money to do some exposure testing, right? Bring in there, and there are companies all over the place that will do this for you. They'll try to hack into your system. They'll tell you where you're vulnerable, and then you'll know where to take action. Those are the 5 things. Super, super rich. So, okay, now that we said that, I know your time is busy, Aaron. So I tell you what, let me just finish up by saying this. Aaron, I'm a business owner. I'm thinking, all right, how can I get this done? I really need some help. Well, that's what ODN Consulting's here for. So help people tell us how people can get in contact with you guys. How can you help? How are your services configured? So walk me through that for a second.
So onedaynerd.com is our website. That would be a great way to, reach out to us. I'm really bad for giving out my personal cell phone number and then always being on it, so I'm not going to do that here. But the website is a great first touch. There's a contact form on there. Fill that out, and a member of the team will reach out to you. It'll be either myself, Sydney, or Clay. And what we actually do for people is everything that we've talked about today, we can do that as a service for businesses as large as the DoD down to our smallest client's a single member attorney in Inez, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a large breadth of experience there. And
so it's as simple as going to One Day Nerd. In fact, if you're on YouTube, you can see it on your screen right now, onedaynerd.com. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, that's just literally onedaynerd.com. And listen, don't put this off anymore. Seriously, if you don't have time to do it, let Aaron and his team help you out.
Yep. And we've never been about just taking people's money and going away. We want to build relationships with people and help them more than anything. I mean, that's why I started ODN forever ago. Was just because people were being done wrong, and I'm like, that's not a cool way to live. Because it's something that I think IT is very simple, but I'm lucky enough that my hobby pays my bills too.
That's right.
I could be paid in sand and would just be, happy as a pig in mud to be tapping away on my keyboard.
That's right. One Day Nerd is not only their website, it describes Aaron Dickey. So one Day Nerd, man, Aaron, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's just really great information. If you're listening, make sure you check them out. Don't delay. Quit pushing this off. I like what you said. It's a profit center, not a call center.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the experience.
Absolutely. So check Aaron out. By the way, if you're a FrontRunner listener, a FrontRunner subscriber, just know that the reason why your data is safe is because of Aaron and his team. And so they're the ones that watch over things. If you remember, even a couple of years ago, we always had significant server issues and things like that. We've even had them early this year, but I will tell you, man, days are much brighter around here because Aaron and his team joined and have been helping just make us even more secure, even more stable. And so FrontRunner's investing in it because we believe it's a profit center too. So you should as well. Aaron, thanks again for jumping on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's going to be it for episode number 34 of To the Front. Boy, those are really, really good things. Those 5 tips every agent needs to know. Don't be the agent who says, you know what? I listened to that podcast. I should have done what they asked. Take it to heart, call ODN, do it yourself, whatever it is, right? But be proactive. Don't be reactive, because when you're proactive, things just tend to go better. Doesn't mean they're going to be perfect. Doesn't mean something won't happen, but it does mean that you'll be able to head off a lot of the silly things that sometimes we fall into as business owners. So that's going to be it. Thanks again for joining us. Again, like I always say at the end of every episode, go lead your agency with courage. Go lead it for something more and bigger, and that will last longer than even your life here on earth. Until then, see you later.